us here today. So, well, excellent. Well, thank you all for joining us for this retail conversation. I'm Marcy Mowry, president of the Pennsylvania Parks and Forest Foundation. And with us tonight is Bryce, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Bryce Kruger. I'm our new chapter and public engagement coordinator, so I'll be working closely with you for the years to come.
Excellent. And Pam, are you able to introduce yourself?
I can introduce myself. I'm Pam Metzger, current membership coordinator, and can't seem to find a camera on this stupid laptop. So, hey, I'll keep looking.
All right, Pam. I'm going to ask each of you to introduce yourself. If you could say who you are, what chapter you're from, your favorite ice cream, and what
Ooh,
your biggest seller is in your gift shop. And if there are two of you from the same chapter, maybe you list the second biggest seller. So, Andre, I'm going to start with you.
So I'm Andre Weltman, the chair of the Friends of Pine Grove Furnace State Park. And actually, I defer to Mary about what's our best sellers. Um, we do sell a lot of small items, though. I'll just mention that having things like $5 type items, $3 items can be useful. So I'll,
Your favorite ice cream?
oh, I'm sorry. I was texting one of my board members. Favorite ice cream? Good Lord. Butter pecan, I guess.
Okay, awesome. Well, Mary, since he deferred to you, we'll go with you next.
Okay, so that is so bizarre that you like butter pecan because I do too. Maybe that's how it all works. I don't know. So our best sellers, I don't really know what our best sellers are. I would say hats are very popular. Stickers are very popular. They don't cost a lot, but our price margin is pretty good on them. So yeah, stickers and hats I would go with.
Okay, great. Thank you,
Mhm.
Mary.
Okay.
Terry, name, chapter you're with, favorite ice cream, and the best-selling item that you sell.
I'm with Friends of Pincho, and our best seller is long sleeved hoodies, and stickers would be second. And
Favorite.
I don't eat ice cream.
Okay. Do you have a favorite dessert?
Anything chocolate.
Great. Thank you. Mary Ann.
Um, I'm Mary Ann. I'm with the Friends of Tyler, and we're relatively new to this. So we have some, I would say, probably T-shirt sales through Bonfire, and just trying to figure out what we can do retail wise, for anything like that. And my favorite ice cream, I would say, is coconut chocolate chip.
Nice. Great. Thank you. Joyce, I know you're having some challenges with your microphone. So there he is, Friends of Pincho, chocolate, and what Terry said. Kathy. We can't hear you, Kathy. Are you able to? Okay, Kathy, you may have to put into the chat the same. We know you're with the Friends of Black Shannon, and what is your biggest seller and your favorite ice cream? Shannon. Yep, Shannon is also putting it in. Shannon Baker, treasurer of Parker Dam, chocolate chip ice cream we sell, are doing skating currently, which is a huge hit. Okay. And just for fun, Bryce, your favorite ice cream?
Anything with coffee or sea salt caramel is a great notch on my list.
Great. Pam?
chocolate peanut butter. And I manage up to this point, the retail shop at Ohio Pile, probably our best seller are, I would say, stickers and hats and magnets and keychains, the very small, inexpensive, oh, and stuffed animals. I forgot about the stuffed animals. They go like that. Birds and animals.
Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Kathy says black cherry ice cream and our new pottery mugs and t-shirts are big sellers. And I will say, with our online retail, our biggest seller is probably the Pennsylvania State Park and State Forest Passport is the biggest seller.
I heard my text, and I wonder if that might not be Rose who's taken over for me at Ohio Pile. Let me see if I can just go check that. Okay, hang on a second.
Okay.
Or
So
don't
we
hang
will
on.
let her in. So I know that Kathy and Mary, you both have stores within your park. So do you want to talk just a little bit about how you operate so others can see what you do? And then I think the rest of you do pickup retail at events, retail through your campground host. So Mary, if you want to start.
Okay. All right, thank you. We are very fortunate that we have really a wonderful relationship with the park staff at Pine Grove Furnace State Park. We have a small shop right in the park office, and I cannot emphasize enough how small it is. But we have a small area that we can. Oh, well, thank you.
Narration.
This is our park office. And so it's an old boarding house. So none of the rooms are large. And in this small space, we have offices. Okay, this is our shop. So the counter on the left are where the park staff are, and they're answering questions about hiking and whatever. And our little shop is along the wall on the right. And so we have to be very efficient. And here we have some staff from Parks and Forest Foundation coming in and doing some purchases. And Andre, our chair, there is in the background, and Lisa, who is our park administrator, is looks like she's stamping some passports or something. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's where we sell everything. So we sell fleece and t-shirts and sweatshirts, and this we show a lot of different merchandise with hats and maps, and the passports are down there. The purple lizard maps are very popular. The Parks and Forest Foundation bandanas are popular. And one of the things that we sell that we maybe don't make a lot of money on, but we consider to be a very important public service, are books about the local history of the park and the region. So that we put a lot of emphasis on having, things that we can make a little bit of money on, but also things that are more of a public service, like the books. The other thing, wait, can we just go back to that last picture? Because one of the things that we have are our mugs. They're down in the lower left-hand corner. And a local vendor makes the mugs for us, and each mug is unique. On one side are some pine trees, and on the other side, it just says Pine Grove Furnace State Park. And those mugs are very popular and a lot of fun. We've got cabin owners in the area that like to buy those mugs, and it's just a nice touch. And then, of course, all of the books that we have, and you can see some of our stickers there as well. Okay, now you can move.
And Mary, I think you used the graphic designer that we have at PPFF for some of your stickers.
Yes, we do. Keith Bell has been, yes, we use Keith Bell, who is a local graphic artist, for some of our designs. And we also use More Graphics, which is a local t-shirt company right in Mechanicsburg. So we try as often as possible to buy local. It's not always possible, but we try. Something that we've done in the last few years is that we sell Christmas ornaments that are actually made in Texas, but it's a local artist right out right outside the park who designs them, and those have been also very popular in the last few years. Okay, we'll see what else. Okay, so on the right-hand side of your screen, you're going to see those are patches, and this is something that Andre, our chair, designs every year. And what he does is he takes a photograph of some building or some animal or something from the park, and we turn it into an annual patch. And we've been doing this how many years, Andre? Maybe since 2013, I think.
Right. We started the idea with the supposed anniversary, 1913, of our park, and it was popular enough. We just keep doing it every year. This year, we're going to do two designs, both of which are bouncing off of the semi-quincentennial.
Yeah. Yeah, there's one of the designs that Andre came up with is actually based on the door of a wood stove that was originally made at Pine Grove Furnace State Park many years ago. And there are stars, and I don't know if it's an angel or a cupid or something, but it's a
Okay.
very
Yep. He's showing it in the box up there.
okay, very good.
You can.
It's a angel, or sometimes it's actually called fame, as in, I'm famous. A very widely used motif from the American Revolution, 13 stars for the 13 colonies turning into states. And the motto is "Be Liberty Thine." It was a widely used motto and motif across iron and art in the brand new country, not just Pine Grove.
Yeah. Cool. So yeah, so I think that's going to be a good seller this year. So we normally buy we Andre is like the lead on our patches and creates a design for a patch, and we buy about 200 a year, and we'll sell about 100 a year, 100 of the new patches, but then we continue to sell them through the out year. So we'll order 200 patches, and that'll last us maybe 5 years. And the patches don't take much space to store, and they've become very popular. And I think we have two patches this year. One is an American Eagle, which we have in our park, and then the new Liberty patch. I think both of them are going to be big sellers for us. We sell them for $5. Okay, Bryce? Okay. So as all of you know, it can be a little awkward dealing with sales in the park. And so what we've come up with is this merchandise envelope that allows people to check off what they're purchasing and then have a total at the bottom. And they just put the money in the sleeve. And if they want to become a membership, they can use the side of the envelope for that. But what is nice about this is that our treasurer then just takes out the money and accounts for that. But then he rips off the sleeve that has the item on that, and puts that into our records for our sales. So it works for us. It's awkward, but it works. Oddly enough, it works.
And just again, emphasizing the fact that park staff are not supposed to handle Friends Grant money.
Right.
So this is one of the ways that we have found collectively, and a number of groups do it. You may have seen in the chat box that Black with Shannon also does their sales this way. We do them at Ohio Pile this way. Keeps track of your inventory, but also, takes DCNR out of the equation so that you're not violating their financial policy.
But let me emphasize, our park staff are so helpful. And so when somebody comes in to buy something and they're like, how do we do this? They'll point across the room and say, hey, those are the sales envelopes. Just take one of those. And sometimes they'll even help them fill them out. And then we have a cash box or lock box that they have to deposit the envelope in. So it works. It really does work very nicely. The park is also very good at providing us some storage space. And so we have a small room at the very back of the park where we have a couple of shelves and we have bins of our items in them. And it's very important for us to itemize what's in the bin by size so that if the park staff has to come in and get a large size of a certain fleece or whatever, they can come in and see immediately what's in the box and pull one out for the customer. So that's very helpful. As I said, the staff works with us very, very closely.
So, Bryce, can you go back one? I see some color coding on your lower labels. Can you explain what that is?
All right. So this year we tried something different. Some people had come in and said they really wanted women's sizes. So those of you who are familiar with merchandise, you know that you've got the unisex, which are the normal fleece or t-shirts, and then you have the women's sizes. And we don't have enough space to have separate bins for the women's and the men's. So when we made our order, we asked that the unisex be in different colors than the women's sizes, and then we combine them all in the same bin. But if you're just coming in, you'll to grab a t-shirt, you'll know, okay, here's extra large. If it's a maroon or a green, it's unisex, but if it's more pink or blue, that's a women's size. So
Great,
yeah,
thank you.
nothing's easy.
This is Andre. I just want to make a quick comment. My standing joke, or it's not joke, is, we don't pay rent for our store. We don't pay for a warehouse. I mean, I wish we had a warehouse because Mary already said the space that's available is really too tight for the number of things we've uh, over the years accumulated to sell. We don't pay salaries to the park staff who are effectively our salespersons. So as a business model, it's a pretty good deal. We're getting the merchandise, and obviously we have to handle the administrative issues and order stuff, but nothing else about this creates overhead. So it's a nice profit center.
Yeah, it is.
Thank you, Andre.
Okay. Okay. And this is so one of the things that Parks and Forest Foundation has been requiring over the last couple of years, and this is not Parks and Forest Foundation so much, but the accountants, just for audit purposes and understanding that when you combine all of the different friends groups, the value of our merchandise is considerable. And so that's why we have to do inventories now just to account for what's being spent. And this page just shows how we do it. We do an inventory at the end of the year, like everyone does. And then, as Bryce, if you can scroll up to the top on this one. So this is the inventory that was done at the end of December. And then on the far right, you'll see with updates. And so for any restocks that are happening, so if you go down, you can see that Babes in the Woods is a book that is very popular. It deals with a very horrific crime that happened in the 30s. Three young girls were killed. And that's a very popular book. And so you can see that we restocked the addendum for that book for six. And so what we do is we take the inventory and then as we restock, we add it to it. And then the updated inventory is on the far right. And whatever the updated price is in that column also toward the right. So it makes it.
I like too, Mary, that you have who completed the inventory and when it was completed. That's a nice notation to have right up there at the top.
Mhm. But I cannot emphasize enough how valuable the inventory has become for us for just knowing right outside the box at the beginning of the year. It's like, okay, these are the books we need to order. We ordered some fleece. I mean, there's just some basic inventory that we deal with immediately based on that inventory that we do at the end of December. So it's become a good management tool for us.
Thank you.
Yeah. So this I don't consider this merchandise, but I wasn't certain what we'd be talking about tonight, so I thought I'd throw in a picture of our firewood shed because firewood, selling firewood at the campground is a pretty good source of income for us, and it's a very important service, I believe, for the campground as well. And so we have a wood shed that we sell 6 pieces of firewood for $5, and it's right across the lane from the campground host, and so they manage it for us, and it's a pretty good system that has worked for us. We call these our hen boxes, and so we'll put 6 pieces of firewood in each hen box, and people can come in and pick them up, and then inside the shed is normally full of firewood. And when the campground host is there and it's busy, we just open up the other doors and people can come out and come in and pick out what kind of wood they want. If they want pine or hardwood or big logs or little logs, whatever they want, they can pick out their favorite pieces.
Great. Thank you, Mary.
Hmm.
And I will say that Black Shannon put into the chat box that they also have the envelopes for the collection of sales with a drop box, hence relying on park staff to make change or maybe point things out. They're also looking for other ideas for sales, and they post their items on their Facebook page to try to draw attention to their store. I've asked Pam to talk a little bit about the shop at Ohio Pile, which uses a similar model. In the meantime, I'm going to put in the chat box another member of the Friends of Black Shannon who said, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to him. And that's Jonathan Siegel. He is the treasurer. So that's in the chat there.
I'm not sure if my video seems to be sucking away bandwidth. So we also use at Ohio Pile, we use the envelope. I like Mary's stripped down inventory number of things that are for sale. We have tended, I think, to go completely overboard with especially shirts. I mean, it's like we have 3 or 4 different varieties of shirts and kids and women's, and unfortunately the envelope doesn't allow us to keep track very well of what sizes and styles have gone in and out. So, like we just say t-shirt, we have to count them individually and hope that the inventory that we have still matches what's on the shelves. So it's rather complex and not entirely satisfactory. Again, the park staff at Ohio Pile is fantastic when it comes to making change and keeping things neat. They are not permitted to go and replenish stock. So we have someone who has been helping me, Rose, who is taking over for me when I'm done. And I was hoping she'd be able to be on tonight, but her son was having some surgery today, so she wasn't sure she'd make it or not. But yeah, so we do have a person who's taking care of all that kind of thing and counting the money and, getting that.
Great, thank you. And Pincho added that they also use the envelopes. Part of thank you, Pam. Part of the reason we wanted to host this meeting to see if there were any collective questions that people had. We get questions coming in periodically from folks, and we didn't know if there was a training that would be beneficial, like somebody that actually works in retail, or they're pressing questions that we could bring somebody from retail in to help you think through something. Are there items, one of the reasons I ask everybody to share what's most popular is because that's a question. What are people selling? Who are the vendors that they're using? What's popular? So hopefully you found that to be helpful to hear what other people are selling. We did have another person join us. Tom, if you want to introduce yourself and tell us where you're from and what your most popular sale item is and your favorite ice cream.
Okay, that's a lot there. I was still getting set up. Okay, so I'm Tom Reed. I'm from Friends of Michaud. Remember that one. Favorite ice cream, of course, is just chocolate because I'm a purist. And what are the other questions?
What's your most popular item that you sell?
Don't know. I just joined the board, so I'm kind of new to this.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Go ahead. Marianne, Mary, you took yourself off. You muted yourself.
okay, one point that Pam brought up is that you can overextend yourself with clothing in the sizes and the colors and women's and men's and whatever. And that really is the case. I mean, a simple patch you can sell it. You don't need sizes, you don't need different colors. It's easy to store, easy to purchase in bulk, and you've got enough for a couple of years. Whereas clothing, it really is a challenge to manage. And I guess my piece of advice for somebody who's just starting out or trying to improve their system would be the less clothing you can have, the easier it is to manage. I mean, books are easy. Stickers are easy. The mugs that we have that our local vendor has designed for us are very easy. The Christmas ornaments that we sell, it's all small, easy stuff that people can take home, and they don't get old as they're sitting on the shelf waiting to be sold. Whereas clothing is a whole different challenge.
And Terry put into the chat that they sell unisex clothing, so they're trying to minimize on the male female. Questions that you have in regards to retail. Is anyone using QR codes for merchandise sales? This is something we are exploring. I think the QR codes are helpful if you have a staff person who's running a cash register and can scan the QR codes. But for a person completing a fee envelope, I'm not sure how beneficial that would be. Is anybody else using a QR code? Friends of Laurel Hill actually pay a person to run their gift shop. So she is employed as a staff member through PPFF, but the Friends pay all the expenses associated with having an employee. And she is employed from April until October, and she keeps the gift shop open. And so they actually have a cash register and a point of sale because it is a staffed location, and they're not relying on, if there's an issue, park staff would have to help, which they would be unable to do.
Andre, if I can jump in, the lack of credit card ability is the most unfortunate thing that I see for, I imagine, most friends groups in this situation, because there's a point of sale right there on the desk for the park staff to use for people to buy boat permits and campsites and all the other stuff. And then we have to say, oh, we can only do cash or check. Most people except that, we get surprisingly few checks. I guess that's fallen out of favor, but whenever we promote our merchandise, we always put that right up front in an effort to head off the occasional disappointment. I've been standing in the office when people wanted to get something and they're like, "Oh, I only have a credit card. I'm so sorry, but we're just not able to arrange it." So that's the biggest hurdle I see.
And we continue to look into that, Andre, but it would still have some hurdles in that the park staff wouldn't be able to process it. If you don't have signal, you would, in most cases, need a signal to process it. And if you're at a park that has a signal, we can't use state park internet. If I know if the Friends of Pine Grove provide some internet at the park, so that could eliminate that. So there are additional hurdles. And on our end, one of the hurdles is how it comes into Bernadette and how she associates it with where it was processed, and how she associates that with the sale. So we had a group that set up without our knowledge a square. And once we found out, we shut it down. But what was happening is there were sales coming through, and they couldn't say, oh, of that $1,000 worth of sales, 500 of that was taxable and 500 was not taxable. So that screws up our ability to pay the sales tax. So it is something we just learned today that Neon is going to have a point of sale system coming up, and we're going to be looking at that to see if there's any benefits or if it'll work. But we have to have a reporting mechanism that ties it to the group and ties it to the sale so that we know if it's a taxable or non-taxable sale. And Pam said we did try QR codes at Ohio Pile, and it was a horror show. Signal wouldn't hold. A lot of people got frustrated with trying to do it. It didn't increase sales, it increased frustration, and we think it increased the number of things that walked out the door because people looked like they were paying it and weren't paying it.
Well, I would agree with Andre if there's any way that we can do this. And I understand the challenges because how many friends groups do we have now? About 50, I think. And that's all a complicated accounting system that all goes through Bernadette, and she makes it all work. So I understand the complications, but if there is some way, so we just have to keep figuring that out.
Yeah, I mean, we thought we had a system, and then it turned out that Bernadette would have to enter 50 accounts every month and pull reports, and then try to match those reports with a report that the group sent, and make sure the amount of money that came in matched the amount. And that would be another 1 or 2 staff people, and we can't afford that.
Yeah. Anyway, something to aspire to.
Yes, yes. Questions? Is there any training that you think would be helpful?
Marcy, I would like to say that I attended the Friends Retreat last fall up at Bald Eagle. And it was kind of a spontaneous thing where a number of friends groups came with samples of the items that they were selling. And there was really a good exchange of where they were buying things, how much they were paying for them, and how they promoted them. And it was just really a valuable exchange. And I would encourage you to do more of that. I really would. I learned a lot at that session.
Great. Yes. And if at any point you're curious as to the vendors that people are using, Bernadette, does have a record of who we're writing checks to. So we can generate a vendor list. So, but as Mary said, and I believe it was Kathy said, they're also using local artisans and local people to support the local economy around them, and bringing that personal touch. And Mary, if I had a second, I'd run down and get your one ornament that you're selling, your clay ornament that you have a local potter doing as well.
This is Andre. There's another issue about using local vendors. I think it's the right thing to do whenever you can. Not always the absolute cheapest, but if something goes wrong, we had this happen some years ago where a hat order was messed up, and it was coming from China, literally, and it was just a mess because we couldn't, have human interaction. So when things go wrong, having a local vendor who maybe you have business relationship with. One time there was a mistake. It wasn't our mistake about the color of her shirt, and they gave us a small discount. It was much easier to deal with. Even some of our vendors for things like the patches, it's a company in New York State, but we've been working with them for now, I guess, coming up on 13 years, and they know us. And so those relationships can help you when something doesn't work out, whereas some remote, inexpensive, faceless company, the other side of the planet, not so good.
Yes. And that reminds me, I am to show you a potential product. I just need to remember the vendor's name. this that some other states have been selling. There we go. Hold on here. So Wild Tribute is a company that has a really cool um, approach to design. And they've been doing a shirt in other states that shows has it, in this case, I'm not sharing. Let me get to the share. Um, let me show you. In this case, it's the outline of the state with some things that make the state unique, and then a listing of all of the state parks on it. And they're interested in doing something for Pennsylvania. They were interested in seeing if folks would be interested in carrying this. They have a lot of different types of merchandise, from stickers to long sleeve shirts, short sleeve shirts, etc., that could be purchased. We met with a couple of friends groups independently and to get their impression of doing something like this. I will stop this and share with you another state. Here's West Virginia, I think. The West Virginia went more like not even a topographical map. And show you maybe Tennessee. Tennessee went with their raccoon design, which reminds me of the raccoon from Guardians of the Galaxy. But curious of what your thought is of, this would be a shirt that features Pennsylvania collectively and listing all of the state parks in the back, but because it would be in volume, the price would be reasonable because, collectively it would be uplifting everybody with the shared sales.
Yeah, I think I would be willing to check it out and try it at Friends of Pencha. I think that would sell.
And what do you think from a design? Do you think like they have the raccoon, the state of Pennsylvania with an outline with the things that are unique to Pennsylvania, which is, I see Marianne shaking her head.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's worth a try. We would just get them from you then?
You would order directly from them. So that way you could order what you wanted, like 10 patches, this and that. But because it would be Pennsylvania and you're under the PPF umbrella, you would get the group pricing for.
We use a local vendor for a lot of our stuff. So the only thing I would be interested in is the shirt. Most likely, so.
It would be not until after April because Park 125 is not going to be introduced. Park 125 is not going to be announced until April, so we can't do anything with all the parks on it until after it's formally announced.
I like the idea. I was actually in the Harrisburg airport a month or so ago, and they were selling T-shirts that had all of the parks listed on them, which I thought was pretty cool, in the shape of a keystone. So there might be a local company that we could do the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know if they would consider it a copyright infringement since they're already doing it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that would just be something we'd have to make sure of. And since we were in conversations with them.
Okay.
Hey, this reminds me of something else. You mentioned copyright infringement. There's also stepping on toes of partners. Our park has the Appalachian Trail Museum, which sells items when they're open. They also, I believe, sell some things online. And we've kind of danced around the problem of certain items, the purple lizard maps, where we're both selling the same item and we didn't want to undercut them. I don't think it's a big issue, but it's just something to be aware of that if you're selling the same item for a little more, a little less, Amazon is a problem for some of our books, might possibly be for certain other things, maps and so forth. So you just want to be aware of whatever price you're setting and think about what other venues are selling the exact same item for. It doesn't mean there's a conflict and people may be willing to pay a little more. Um, because they're in the park. And conversely, if we're selling it for a dollar or two less in an instance, it hasn't been an issue, but I just wanted to bring that up.
And, I would say that if you are a park that is located within an area where there is a purple lizard map, they are very popular and they do sell well. We cannot keep them in our inventory for the retail store. I know we sell them at Ohio Pile. I know Friends of Michaud sells them. You sell them. Friends of Mon Alto sells the Michaud map. Friends of Caledonia. But people purchase where they are. Uh-oh, the cat's out. That must mean we're getting close to the end. The cat's our signal. But they are, if you are in an area where there's a purple lizard map, you can get them at a wholesale rate, and they do sell.
Yeah. The good thing about purple lizard maps is their retail price is right on the front, and so we have to sell them at whatever that price is. So that makes it easy. I feel pretty confident that whoever might be selling them in the nearby area are selling them for whatever price is listed on the front. So we're not underselling anybody, I hope.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I would remind people of, especially if you're just getting into the sales, while we are exempt from paying sales tax on most purchases that we make, we are not exempt from collecting sales tax on things that we sell that are taxable. So if you have a question about the items that you're planning to sell, if they are or are not taxable, please contact Bernadette. There are some very subtle nuances. Bottled water is not taxable. Flavored bottled water is taxable. So you need to keep track of your taxable sales and your non-taxable sales, so that when Bernadette pays the taxes on a monthly basis, she's paying an accurate amount. And that's why we met with your treasurers last week, encouraging them to make sure that they're submitting money on a regular basis so that it's coinciding with the month in which things were sold. But if you have any questions about the items that you're selling, please contact Bernadette. And there's a handy dandy little guide that she can send you. But sometimes we actually have to call the revenue office and say, okay, this is a hat with a logo. We're not the NFL. Is it taxable? Isn't it taxable? The nuances are that subtle.
And just to let you know, this is Tom. I just did a quick search on Google, and the Pennsylvania State Parks T-shirt is from the Lightning Bug Gift Company. So it's out there on the
Pam,
web.
they're a member and friend of PPFF. So, right, Pam? That's the lightning bug.
Yep.
They are friends. I will reach out to them. They are actually literally members of PPFF. Thank you, Tom. Any other questions, or is there an area where you would find it beneficial for us to bring somebody in that works in retail to answer questions as it relates to having a retail establishment of the kind that we have?
If we had our own store, it would be one thing, but we don't. We have a lot of restraints.
Yeah. Terry, are you guys selling in the office, or are you just with the host and at pop-up events?
Okay, well, our hosts don't sell. It's the campground office, the park office, and then we sell stuff at events.
Okay.
So this last year we did go to have 11 events. So we're going to a lot of events. Some of them at the park, which we really sell a lot when we do events at the park. outside of the offices. We just set up a table in the campground and sell stuff for a couple hours, usually over like a holiday weekend. And a lot of people didn't even realize that the campground office was able to sell stuff. So we do a good business, just on a holiday weekend.
And Terry, when you say at events, are those events that friends are hosting, or those events that are happening within in the park? And I ask that because some of our friends groups don't have campgrounds, so that's not an option for them.
Mhm.
But are like if there's a race or something at your park, are you setting up when there are other entities doing something within the park?
So we have a local market that allows us to set up a tent. So we're going to start doing that once a month. We did that a couple times last year. And then there's another local vendor where we would set up our table there at, it's a local orchard. And when they have big events, we might join their event. And then when we do the weekends, it's just our own thing. We just set up a table in the campground, of course, with the park's knowledge. So that's what we've been doing. And like the polar plunge, we'll be doing that in a couple weeks at the park. So so it's a variety of stuff. So,
Okay.
but if you do have local vendors and they'd have events, like we have a farmers market. So they're there every Saturday. So we're going once a month.
And I will say PPFF has set up at farmers markets, and we have done very well. People that are at farmers markets are your people. So if you can
Right.
get in at a farmers market, it is you will probably do very well. And a lot of farmers markets have, if you're a nonprofit, they will either have a very reduced rate or they will invite you to be there.
So, Andre, I have a question for other groups, maybe not even on this call. How does anyone else deal with requests for mailed items? We don't have internet sales, but it's not unusual, especially in the winter when the park office isn't open on the weekends, or someone who has a connection to the area but lives, halfway across the country. They'll say, "I really want to buy this or that as a memento." It's it it's a pain in the neck, and I try to discourage it, but I tend to do it because these are people who, oh, I love that patch. Can I send you $5? I'm like, well, plus shipping, plus. Is anyone else have a way of dealing with that?
Well, we've just started to think about that ourselves because the campground at Different Venture is going to close for 2 years after Labor Day. So we were kind of figuring out a way to do that. So what we were thinking about doing is having a form for somebody to fill in, and then we'd say you could pick up your stuff we'll be at the farmers market on this date. And so you can come and pick up your stuff then, and then we'll collect your money then. So that's something we're throwing around right now. We're working on the order form at this point. So I mean that there's an idea, so because then, we're not sending now. We do send patches through the mail. We have done that. So
Is that something that happens often, or just, these occasional one-off?
well, when you can,
I mean,
yeah. So on our membership form, we say, would you like the annual patch? Because we have an annual patch through a photo contest that we do every year. So we say, do you want the annual patch? And then we'll just send them their paperwork and the patch in that way. And then I have had some people say, hey, I wanted to get the annual patch at the campground, but I wasn't, they were out of them. So I'll just take them from the inventory, and I've sent them that way too. So that doesn't happen very often, but.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions? Well, I appreciate you all joining us tonight and sharing your expertise, your enthusiasm, and
I
hopefully
do have one question. I do have a
Sure.
question. So, so we've been doing, this sales and stuff for like 5 years. And so I have all of these sales envelopes and receipts and stuff like that from events. And so that I'd like to know how many years of stuff do I need to keep?
Terry, you will know that tomorrow because I have been
Okay.
chasing the accountant. Betsy asked me that question, and I've been unable to meet with the accountant, but we finally pinned a date down tomorrow.
Okay.
And we're going to be asking a number of questions that I have been adding up on my list of questions for the accountant over the past couple of weeks. So
Okay,
you will
great.
have an
All
answer
right.
tomorrow,
All right,
hopefully by
great.
9:30, because I think
Okay.
we're meeting at 9.
All right. Great.
All right. Well, excellent. Thank you all. We will put this up on the website. And again, at any point, if you are willing or to answer anybody's questions, if you would put your email address in the chat box, because I know we have a couple of new people that are thinking about doing sales. Maybe you heard something today that is of interest to you and you want to learn a little bit more about how somebody does it. So we'll wait a second here if you want to slide it in there. Oh, there's another cat. It must really be time. Or did that cat walk from one frame to the other?
Yeah.
So, and if at any point, if you said, "Hey, I want to connect with somebody, or I do have a question," feel free to reach out. Bernadette, as I said, can get you a list of vendors. You can reach out to Bryce. You can reach out to Pam. As we learn more about this new feature of Neon, we'll communicate out to you all about that as well. But thank you for what you do for your parks. I was going to say about Neon, and we'll. So nab them in the chat if you need them. Thank you all for joining us and enjoy your evening. And Andre, if you did want to chat a little bit, feel free to hang around. I'm going to pause the recording now or stop it.